Are you tired of the rainbows and butterflies approach in multifamily investing, where everything unfolds seamlessly and everybody wins? You never see behind-the-scenes reality. If you resonate with our perspective, acknowledging that true insights emerge from navigating mistakes and challenges, then you're in the right place. Join Christy Keaton, your host, as she dives into the missteps and lessons learned encountered by active apartment operators. In these episodes, we embark on a journey to dissect and analyze the pitfalls within the multifamily project lifecycle, focusing on the crucial stages of finding, funding, fixing, or flipping a project. Instead of glossing over setbacks, we shine a spotlight on them, providing a valuable learning experience for our audience. Each episode concludes not only by revealing how the issue at hand was rectified, but also by sharing other priceless lessons derived from the experience. It's an unfiltered exploration of the multifamily investment landscape, revealing the intricate tapestry of challenges and solutions that make the journey worthwhile.
Welcome back to another episode of Multifamily Missteps. We are joined today by Bob Lachance, and this guy has gone through so much in the multifamily and just in real estate in general, but we're going to get to that in just a few minutes. Bob, I want you to tell us just a little bit about your background, where you came from, and how you got where you are in the multifamily business.
Absolutely. I grew up in the Northeast, like we talked about before we jumped on this call.
Yep.
But before real estate, I played professional hockey for 8 years and then played 8 years and decided, hey, I got to jump into some sort of industry. I didn't know what to do because when you're out of any types of network, because in your hockey locker room, you don't have the business network, if you will.
Yeah.
So I started reading a couple books and everything kept steering me towards real estate. I bought a bunch of multifamily books, single family books, just all real estate in general. So I decided when I retired I thought I was a rehabber. So my first property that I bought, I rehabbed. I actually did okay. I made 32 grand on it.
That's
But I also
good.
realized, it was pretty good. But I also realized I didn't know anything about real estate. So we didn't
That's
have,
probably what happens. Yeah.
we didn't have the stuff that we have. We didn't have podcasts like yours. We didn't have those things back in 2004. So I've been in this business for a little while, about 20 years now. So I joined a local real estate investment association. We were talking a little bit about meetup groups back before we jumped on this call. And so I joined that group, and I also saw a speaker that spoke on pre-foreclosure, meaning short sale world, pre-foreclosure, people not being able to pay their bills and their mortgages, et cetera. So I was hooked then. Again, I was a buyer back then. I didn't know anything.
Right.
So I jumped in, and then I was a short sale investor for the next probably 8-9 years. So I did a lot of short sales, worked with banks. I also door knocked, went from door to door, which I don't recommend anybody do. However,
Not in these days.
No, not in these days. You don't have to. But it was the best thing for me to learn from ground
Yeah.
up. So it's pretty cool. And then I jumped into the real estate education space while doing obviously properties and fixing and flipping and wholesale and also short sales. And then while I was with that company, they started getting into commercial. And I've also realized when I was coaching, I helped start that coaching program. So I was coaching on different types of aspects of wholesaling, rehabbing, also short sales. And what I realized when you have a coaching program and you give students tasks to do, many of them, life gets in the way. So you realize when you give someone homework assignments, action items, you realize that in 2 weeks, a lot of them aren't getting done. So I said, there's got to be a system. There's got to be a service. There's got to be a product there to help. And then 2013, I got introduced to what a virtual assistant was. And
Hey.
a light bulb went on. I'm like, you know what? I could marry the education company that I helped start in the back end with the virtual assistant world. So I launched a company in 2014. And I fast forward today, use my virtual assistants in my own real estate business, while I have a little over 1,000 virtual assistants that work with many different companies, whether it's commercial or residential.
Wow. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that a virtual assistant can actually pivot you to the next level, not just step you up, but pivot you to the next level, especially if you get them whenever they have some kind of experience like Excel or Word or whatever kind of experience. Yeah. So let's go back a little bit, because you talked about a little bit about how you got started and how you realized that you didn't know anything about the real estate business. So on the first renovation that you did, were you actually doing the work, or did you have a contractor that was doing the work? Because when you come out of of whatever occupation it was. This happens to be hockey, which is fantastic. I love hockey. So I was excited about this chat. When you came out of that, the first thing I want to know is, how did you find out about multifamily? Like, what triggered you to say, you know what? I think that this may be something that I want to do, or real estate in general. This may be
Yeah.
something I want to do, because you said there was really not any networking necessarily, like in the locker rooms or on the
Yep.
teams, really. So, how did you come about to know, hey, you know what? I think real estate is going to be my next step coming out of this?
Yeah, I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad just like everybody else. It talked about different quadrants and cash flow and
Yep.
passive income, et cetera. So I'm like, all right, I like that. So that was really the first introduction to it. And then I'm always a person, I want to work through it. I want to do it. Whether you fail or not, you have to
Yeah.
experience it to be able to pass off those tasks. Like that's how I was when I first started. Now I'm a little different because I have a lot more knowledge. I have 20 years of knowledge and different,
Yeah.
wins and losses and things like that. But that's how I got initially started and interested in real estate in general and obviously in the multifamily space as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So let's talk about your first renovation and how you
Yep.
decided that, I really don't know much about real estate. So let's go into that a little bit and see if we can add some value to our listeners on that one.
Okay, I know you talk about missteps. So
Yeah.
this was actually a funny misstep. I was actually having this conversation this weekend. My first rehab, I bought the property and it needed a new roof on the garage. Now the garage was probably, I don't know, let's say 8 feet high. So I put a ladder up. It rained that morning and I was
Okay.
all gung ho. I didn't know anything. I put the ladder up and I didn't know you had to back a ladder, right? You had to put something behind it. So I'm ripping the roof. I'm ripping the roof. All of a sudden, the ladder comes flying down. I fall down. I land on
Oh,
my,
no.
but the ladder, of course, comes in. You're in
Yep.
the rungs. It comes in, almost breaks my two shins. I kid you not. I have scars to today.
Oh my
These
gosh.
were absolutely huge. So then, right then and there, I'm like, all right, I'm out. I am not doing another piece of rehab ever. So I found
Goodness.
contractors and ended up doing well. Like I said, I made $32,000 on that deal, but I learned very, very quickly what I am not. I am more of an investor and
Yeah.
not the actual contractor. So
Yeah.
that's my lesson number one.
Well, that's awesome. That's an awesome lesson. It's a
Yep.
hard lesson to learn. And those scars, you got 32 grand for the scars that you got, right? But
Yep.
it's a hard lesson whenever I can do this. I did the same thing. I think we've all been down that road where I can do this. And you find out there's somebody that knows a little bit more about it than I do that can do this. And I'll
Yeah.
just not necessarily pay their price, but negotiate with them to be able to
Yep.
do it.
Well,
The
you're good at
scars
that,
and the
right?
chin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'd rather spend time doing other things like acquiring properties and analyzing and looking at each deal because once you know how that works and how those
Yeah.
deals get analyzed, it's just a different game.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. So I'm assuming that was a single family
That one
renovation.
was a single family, yes.
All right.
Single
So
family.
how long did it take you to navigate from the single family over to your multifamily
Oof. That
journey?
took me to about 10 years.
Wow.
Took me about 10 years. Yeah, because I was in that space. You never know. The great thing about real estate is wherever you start, it's never where you finish.
That's right.
So, and it
Right.
takes you everywhere. You start with single family, then all of a sudden you get an opportunity to have success. You do multiple properties, et cetera. Before you know it, you've done 100, and then you get introduced to the mentor world. And that'll
Yes.
take in a different path, right? In that path, you have
Yes.
X amount of funds. You learn private money, you learn syndication, you learn multifamily. So those opportunities over time
Yep.
get presented to you. So then you start seeing that. So it was about 10 years. I actually bought a used appliance company and I've
Okay.
done a lot of stuff within real estate. And so my business partner there in used appliance company, we get deals that come across our desk all the time. And it was a 10-unit building. And there's a lot of takeaways on this particular building. It was the bank owned property. It was listed, I think at the time, it's back in 2014-ish.
Okay.
I was listed, I think it was like 275 grand. We ended up negotiating it down for 200. Each unit, there's a Chinese restaurant. There was an old laundromat, which obviously was environmental stuff. And
Mhm.
a lot of those units were vacant, but up above it is, they're all units. I think there's like 30 units that we did not own. We were only buying the bottom.
Okay.
So, and again, it was a condo association. So there's a lot of moving parts that I didn't know, to be honest with you. So I just jumped in and I learned a lot through it. So that was the first one that we purchased with the idea of just holding it long term and never selling.
Okay. Awesome. And Do you still own that one?
No. So this is what we did. It was actually I had a fun time actually with it, but we had to go out, we had to rehab all the units.
Okay.
And it was really cool because I think 2 or 3 of them were rented at the time, and we had 7 that were vacant. So we had to figure out how to configure the storefronts. We worked with the town,
Okay.
to get access through there, putting a new road in. So it was a really cool experience. But one thing I did realize is when you have units in the basement and you have residential up top, if there's a backup of a toilet or there's something leaking, guess where it goes?
Mm,
Space. So you got to be careful of what you put down there.
yes.
We actually had to, yeah. So we worked with a contractor to make sure that we created some sort of contraption where it funneled back to the back if something like that did happen, rather than seep through the ceiling. So we
Oh,
made that
that's
mistake at
smart.
the beginning. Yeah.
That's smart to have that. I want to say almost like a diverter, like a water
Yep.
diverter of some sort,
Exactly.
water or any. Yeah. So when people own above you, it's really difficult if the owner is not willing to help in that
Right.
area. And so did you have difficulty with that owner at any time, or were they pretty friendly and wanted to help you as well?
Yeah, you were dealing with a management company that didn't have anything to do. In essence, the owner didn't have anything to do with you as a separate owner. So
Right.
the delays were delayed.
Mhm.
So we had to fix the problem ourselves, which is fine. You navigate through challenges in this business. We ended up turning those units around and reselling it at a very good profit. I
Okay.
think we sold it for we probably made about 150,000 on it over time, which is not bad. But
Good.
it was I think the best thing is some great learning experience because we bought it as is and we did not go through all the phases, environmental phases and things like that. So
That's
for
good.
us to resell it, we either had to do that or sell it as is at a discount. So we sold it as is as a discount, and we were fine with it because we were just
Yeah.
that was cash deal. So,
That was good. That's good.
yeah.
So from there, do you now own apartments and
I
type of
just jumped in the
multifamily?
syndication game. Yeah, I jumped
Oh,
in the
there you go.
syndication game
Okay.
because for me it was easier. It was, like I said, the organization I was part of. They started buying bigger buildings, and they had operators all over the country. So I invested in a bunch of the syndications. I'm still in some today.
Awesome. Awesome. So you're now syndicator as well yourself?
No, I'm just investing them. I don't take the
Okay.
lead on any of them, but I do know what I do in the background is I do some due diligence on the operator who operates those units because
Okay.
that is the most important thing, in my opinion. I mean, you know better than I do, but what I found is you're going to be successful if you invest in the operator that has a track record of success because there's a lot of people that, and I know you get this, but I'm getting hit every day by, hey, you have the best opportunity, I have the best opportunity, I have
Oh,
the
yeah.
best opportunity.
All the
And a
time.
lot of those opportunities are not opportunities because let me tell you another misstep that I did when I first started. This is back in 2005, which is very important. There was a can't miss knockdown rebuild in Greenwich, Connecticut, where literally tens of millions of dollars of properties, 5 million, 10 million, if you look at all the neighborhood.
Right.
So I had to put a $150,000 non-refundable deposit. Now, this is when I first started real estate. This is 2005. Now
Whoa.
I had money from hockey, but I didn't have endless money. 150 grand hurt. So anyway,
Yes.
they ended up putting some stipulations in the contract and we tried to back out. We had to get an attorney at $475 an hour before you know it
Yeah.
was another 10 grand. And we're like, we need to make a decision whether we're going to walk on 150 grand or keep giving an attorney at $475. We're already ticking up to 10 grand and try to get our money back. So we just washed our hands, said, all right, I got to work my butt off to take care of my 75 grand and a half, my business partner, his 75 grand and a half. So the misstep there was obviously there's never a can't miss deal. So
That's good.
you gotta take your time and do your due diligence and don't get emotionally attached. Because when you get emotionally attached, when emotions are high, intelligence are low. So that's where we're at throughout the
Oh,
process too.
I'm gonna make you say it one more time.
Yeah. When emotions are high,
Ooh,
intelligence are low.
guys, you've got to hear that. When emotions are high, intelligent is low. Oh my goodness. That right there, that alone just
All right, let's stop. We drop the mic. We're out.
there you go. That's it right
Listen.
there. There is so much emotion in real estate.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter what part of real estate that you are, multifamily, single family, commercial, industrial, it doesn't matter. there is so much emotion because there's money involved. And when there's money involved, you're going to get that emotion. And it can ruin you if you're not intelligent about it. You have to be intelligent about it. That's so good, Bob. Oh man, that was definitely a nugget. You guys got
And Chris,
that
let
nugget.
me let me add to that too. One thing you learn when you've been in business for a long time, because if you got beat up in 20 years, you win
Yep.
some, you lose some.
Yep.
But if you could somehow detach yourself from the outcome of each negotiations you're in, right? Because we have
Yeah.
a lot of negotiations, you will win more than you will lose. Because if you're not emotionally in it, you detach, you're very
Yeah.
calm, you're collective, you're
Yep.
following. So I think everyone should have sales, sales training for whatever you do. And if you
Yeah.
follow that sales training and you're emotionally outside of it and you don't get stuck in it,
Yep.
you're going to win a high percentage of whatever you're looking to negotiate.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. It's really hard to detach yourself, especially whenever you have skin in the game. A lot of people get their skin in the game and their skin gets torn up a little bit or something like your shins, but those type of things. And then that's where the emotions come out and it can hurt. And it not only hurts the deal, it'll hurt your future with somebody else. It'll hurt your reputation whenever they find out that your emotions got that high. Yeah, it's definitely better just to detach yourself. Learn how to detach yourself from the emotional side of real estate because if you don't, you're not going to make it in this business
No.
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's going on next for you? What do you have going on in the next, say, 6 months or so?
Next 6 months, couple of things. Obviously, I run a number of businesses. It's to invest in probably one more syndication. I'm also building my single family portfolio as well. So
Where are you building that?
we're down in Jacksonville.
All right. Ooh,
So
it's a
yeah,
good market.
Jacksonville.
Yes, yes. I
Yeah,
love
and
it.
the reason why the price points are still low. I'm up here in Connecticut. Everything up here. We had single family. We had over, I can't remember, maybe like 35 doors, and at the height of the market, we're looking at each one of those doors like, all right, if we could sell these and get a 50+ thousand dollar profit, why not sell them? So
Yes.
we did, yeah, we did that back after COVID when COVID was at its height and
Yeah.
property values went through the roof. My business partner were like, there's no reason why we don't sell this right now and then
Yep.
move our funds somewhere else. So now we're rebuying again in virtual markets.
That's awesome. Virtual markets.
Yep.
All right. You want to elaborate just a little bit on what a virtual market is? So the
Yeah,
listeners
absolutely.
understand a little bit. They're like, wait, what's a virtual market? So
Yeah.
explain
So
to us a little
it's
bit what that is and maybe how people can get involved with that.
Yeah, so it's not your own market, of course. So we have a team down in Jacksonville right now. We have a boots on the ground individual. We have so obviously have a virtual assistant company. We use our VAs on the acquisition side. So we have, if you look at the model of property management or apartments, someone needs to acquire those deals. So it's the same exact model that I'm using
Mhm.
to buy that same thing on the multifamily. So you have acquisition and then also you have your virtual assistants that handle customer service, leasing, and accounting and things like that. But what we have is we have a boots on the ground individual. Our
Yep.
virtual assistants are driving leads, so motivated seller leads to our acquisition team here, sales floor here in Connecticut. And then we lock up the deals. We look at what numbers we want. We either want potential appreciation, we want potential cash flow, et cetera, et cetera. So they have an algorithm that they use and we get them on the phone, we get them under contract, and then we buy them down in Florida. And
Okay.
we have our virtual assistants, like I said, do all those tasks that can be done virtual. And we have our boots on the ground individual who's going to
Okay.
be helping with rehab, helping with replacing tenants, et cetera.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's great. All right. So I like to ask a couple of questions at the end because I do like to promote colleagues. So give me one podcast that you would recommend somebody else listening to besides this one, and one book that you would recommend somebody if they wanted to get in the multifamily space or real estate in general. What book would you recommend they listen?
I like every line of books. I'm reading Steve Schwarzman's book. I just finished it, who owns Blackstone. So that's a pretty
Yeah.
good book. But I like the compound effect. That's what kind of got me into buying and holding. That's a Darren Hardy compound effect that has to do with one thing that you do compounds on each other. Same thing with obviously syndications, multifamilies, when you buy and hold,
Mhm.
all that stuff compounds on each other. So I would gift that book. Podcasts. some great podcasts out there. Grant Cardone has a good podcast, obviously in multifamily. So I would say that one. There's individuals that just want to get into, besides yours, get into real estate. Bigger Pockets does have some good stuff. The list goes on and on.
I agree.
On. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. They do. Yeah, I listen to Bigger Pockets as well. That actually was the first podcast I started listening to.
Yeah. And it helps get you into it, right?
It does.
Yeah,
it does. I do believe that that's for good to get your start in the industry. Yep. Okay, yep. Bob, tell us how we can get a hold of you in case we want to do any kind of business with you.
Absolutely. So my virtual assistant company is Riva Global, REVAglobal.com. You can send me an email, bob@revaglobal, REVAglobal.com. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're awesome. Where everyone else is, LinkedIn, etc. So that's probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. That's great. Bob, thank you so much for dropping these bombs during this podcast. We appreciate it. We appreciate the value that you brought to our listeners today, because those were some really golden nuggets, really, that you brought, and we really appreciate it. And we look forward to following your journey.
Awesome. Thanks,
listeners, thank you so much, and we'll see you again.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Multifamily Missteps. Your dedication to our podcast is truly appreciated. Please help us spread the word and make our community even stronger. The valuable lessons that our guests bring each episode will help you and others avoid these missteps along your journey. Hit the subscribe button, take a screenshot of the episode you just listened to, post it on your social media, and tag myself and my friend Jerome Myers. You never know, you might find yourself our next featured guest. I cannot wait to continue this journey with you. Until next week, stay tuned and stay inspired.